Has there been racism in the past? Yes, of course. Has there been homophobia in the past? Yes, of course. Have women been equal to men in the past? No, of course they haven't. Now, there's a tendency, it seems to me, that if you want to correct an injustice, including particularly historical injustice, you might want to go past equal for a time. You might wish to go to, for instance, better. Or you might not be satisfied with absolutely the same, but say, let's make up for some lost time. Let's make them squeal a bit. It's a very understandable human emotion, the retributive emotion. I think that's almost certainly one of the things that's going on at the moment. It was always there. It was always there. Can we settle for equal, or do we have to go to better?
Well, I liked your metaphor in the book when you talk about the train at the station, that the train's coming to a station and slowing down, and then just at the last second, the driver throws all the coal in and it goes speeding off way past its destination. Because it felt like that. I think you and I have a similar age, so you can remember when we were growing up, we were reaching a kind of colourblindness. We didn't notice when there was a film with a black actor or a film with a woman in a prominent lead. No, it wasn't an issue in of itself. It wasn't something that was remarkable. And I feel like the momentum was in the... That's not to say there wasn't racism and sexism and all the rest of it.
Yes, I mean, there's a critique. There's the obvious critique of that is we wouldn't have noticed it as much.
But my female friends didn't notice it either. And that's the thing. I mean, it wasn't a big thing that Sigourney Weaver is a major female action hero lead. It wasn't remarked upon. What was remarked upon is how great her performance was.
Right. And you didn't see the proto-identity politics movement just rejoicing in the femaleness of Margaret Thatcher.
Well, she was
at least she's a woman.
No, but she was a masculine. That's what they would say, isn't it? That was their thing. That she was enacting maleness. Did you hear this recently about the? There was an attack.
Enacting maleness.
Yeah, there was an attack in America, and it was an attack from I think it was a Latino person attacking a black person. They said that this was someone enacting whiteness, so that the race. So it's not. So it's all performative.
Yeah, no, there are cases of Hispanic white supremacy, actually. There have been quite a few. There have been quite a few of those claims made in America in recent years.
It is quite astonishing. So that's why this is not the same as political correctness. These are people who actually are divorcing the reality of your skin colour, gender, sexuality from your skin colour, gender and sexuality.
Yeah, as you know, I mean, I'm obsessed by these cases, as you know, because they happen in each one of the issues I write about. It happened a little while ago, but you mentioned the Thatcher example. But it's happened. You can see it very clearly in recent years with the famous career trajectory of Germaine Greer, where she gets chucked out of the Church of Feminism by some people who just say Germaine Greer isn't a feminist. Interesting. But then it happens to other people. Peter Thiel, Silicon Valley tech billionaire, comes out for Trump in 2016 and is denounced by the main gay magazine in America as not being gay. They say he may sleep with men, but in no way is he gay. And again, I mean, that's putting in the groundwork. So, but they say, but you can't be, if you're gay, you have a set of political views. Now, this starts to get very dark, though. Kanye West, when he first comes out in support of Candace Owens, then has Ta-Nehisi Coates in The Atlantic writing a piece saying that Kanye isn't black. And this is a very troubling theme. There's an example I give in the book of Thomas Sowell. Those of you who are fans of academic humiliation, as I am, connoisseurs of academic humiliation, will relish the fact that the example I give from the London School of Economics book review site. A few years ago, they reviewed a book of Thomas Sowell's rather late, about 3 years after it had come out, but and the reviewer, I'm going to try to be as charitable as possible, a little-known Welsh academic in a different discipline, reviewed this book and castigated it. He said that Thomas Sowell was using, what the dog whistles. They love dog whistles.
They love the dog whistle.
Always forgetting that if you hear the whistle, you're the dog. But anyway, but they do. He does all the dog whistle stuff. He's doing dog whistles. You can read between the lines. You can see that Thomas Sowell is actually saying this. But it has one of the great erratas of all time at the bottom of the article. To their enormous credit, London School of Economics has. There's a deletion here, but an earlier version of this article included the words "easy for a rich white man to say." Maybe he hadn't even seen the dust jacket of the book.
Yeah.
But this is fascinating because, again, we get to this absolutely crucial bit. This is an attempt, and this is why I just say, like you, whoa,
Yeah.
don't do this. This is an attempt to claim that everything in our lives is dictated by characteristics we have no say over. And it is terrifying where that goes, because what this means is black is a synonym for radical left wing. Woman, synonym for radical left wing. Gay, synonym for radical left wing. Trans, we'll get back to you, but for the time being, synonym for radical left wing. Does nobody see a problem with this, a backlash down the road to this, among much else?
It's so about the elimination of the individual and sort of like the idea that we should be assumed to believe certain things on the basis of something we cannot control. I find it really, really scary. And I also find it quite paternalistic. I find it quite patronizing. You know, when you hear people complain about certain types of jokes because they might offend gay people, for instance, well, maybe I can handle myself and I don't need someone sort of controlling that.
And also,
great stuff coming from Douglas Murray. And what Douglas Murray is talking about is the intersectionality totem pole, right? Where people are sliced and diced according to identity politics by the left, liberals, the media, basically. And it's the oppression Olympics. So as he rightly pointed out, anytime you're one of these victimized or victimhood groups, self-proclaimed, well, you get to basically be on which side of the political coin? Well, you're on the left side. So if you're black and your skin color is designated to be black, you're hitting, you know, leftist ideology. Feminist women, leftist ideology. You talk about gays, leftist ideology. LGBTQIA, MOUSE, leftist ideology. Trans, leftist ideology. Asian, leftist ideology. Hispanic, leftist ideology. You go down the line, you know, in terms of climatology, the Church of Climatology, leftist ideology. Anything. You could just oil, energy, all of these things, right? They're all fundamentally, they lean to the left. And so you want to talk about some other stories about where people just sort of, because the whole thing is it's a diversity is there, is that if you're black, you have to have a certain set of views. And if you have the opposite of those views, you're not considered to be part of that intersectionality, even though you've got the skin color, bona fides, to be a part of that, or academic, or sports, or social, or whatever that may be. I'll just give you two classic examples. David Webb, a very prominent conservative, happens to be black, was being interviewed, and I just want to make sure I get the name correct, Areva Martin on CNN back in 2019. It was a radio interview. She couldn't see him. She obviously didn't do her homework. And she basically said, yeah, after she finished interviewing him, she basically said, yeah, everything that you say is coming from a thing of white privilege. So what else would you expect? And David Webb famously said, you know what, honey? I'm black, which was literally a nobody did their homework. She had no idea, but she's just because he's expounding these values and these views, this CNN reporter assumed David Webb was black and he was a face of white privilege because she assumed he was white. I mean, another case, Larry Elder, another phenomenal conservative, happens just to be black. Well, he is now the new face of white supremacy. So black is the new white. Just like they were talking about, you know what? You've got Hispanics and Latinos that are now the face of white supremacy. You can be a white supremacist and be Latino. You can be brown and be a white supremacist. It means nothing anymore, folks. They'll just hijack anything. The linguistic lingo that the left will use to identify and use identity politics doesn't really matter. They'll just pull everybody over their side. Anyways, that's what we have on tap for you today. More of Douglas Murray and Andrew Boyle coming up. You're watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I'm your host, Dr. Nasir. I give you my political perspective, my political prescription from my political perspective. What happens when people like Douglas and Andrew come together and tackle subjects like trans, gay, women, race, culture, media, government, politics, all that stuff comes crashing together. Let's get back to more of the interview right now.
Things offensive doesn't mean it isn't possibly true. In fact, quite often things that are offensive because you sense a whiff of truth in it and you'd rather skip over it.
Yes.
And that's fine if it's just to do with politeness. But the problem is, of course, is that there are elements in this which you get some way past politeness. That's the reason I did trans last and tried to, and this is why I hope that people who generally disagree with what I'm saying do at least take on board what I'm arguing in that chapter in particular, which is that one of my editors says, it's a very good, useful rule of thumb, says every era in human history has done things which we look back on and are insane. Why did they do that? Sometimes it's social issues. Why did the Victorians put children up chimneys? Exactly. Why didn't they know it might be bad for the child? Sometimes it's much bigger world historical things. Why did they fall into war in 1914? Didn't they know it was going to be the Great War of 1914 to 1918? For instance. But since every era has done things we look back on and are just agog, assume, unless we've become incredibly virtuous, smart, and filled with foresight in recent years, assume we're doing some things too, and try to work out what they are now. Now, I submit that one of these things is at least somewhere within the trans argument. And I explain what I think is a plausible, humane, reasonable rights claim within trans. But I also say, don't think it's obvious that that goes on to experimenting on children and assume that successive generations after us will not look back and think, wow. I mean, just look at that bit of footage the other day from the LGBT town hall of the Democrats, when a mother is standing there beside a child, and the child introduces themselves to Elizabeth Warren and says, I'm a 9-year-old trans child. And Elizabeth Warren and everyone else in the room just whoops. I think we can stick to being polite where and when we can, but this is where an unwillingness to actually interrogate complex, difficult, tricky terrain leads you. It leads you to the situation of everyone cheering at an idea we didn't have a few years ago and needs to be interrogated properly.
I wonder I think where I might part company slightly is I think, as opposed to looking back on this and seeing I think we know this is wrong, generally as a society. I think we know it at the moment. I think we have a bizarre situation where the minority of social justice activists, or those with that mindset, seem to have so much power and ability to dominate the media narrative that we're in this kind of illusory world where we think this is the norm. I think the vast majority of people, and this is something I wanted to ask you about, because I think we're winning. I think there's something to be very optimistic about.
Oh, for sure.
I don't believe that we are living in this oppressive matrix world that they think we are. And I think, therefore, it is doomed to die.
I agree, but there might be an awful lot of pain to get through first. I come back to this thing. If you are working in government or in a large number of an increasing number of companies and elsewhere, you are already stuck in the matrix of not being able to have employment decisions based on competency, but at the very least significantly dominated by characteristic discussions. And once that is embedded, the truth is that we can laugh about it all we want, but if they decide to stick with the dogma, we're screwed.
So
I really do agree with Andrew there. I really think we are slowly we are winning. There are small battles in this war that we are winning. Take a look with Matt Walsh in the movie, What is a Woman, and what he was able to do in Tennessee with the, I guess, University of Tennessee Hospital, having them stop trans surgeries on minors and bring about a change, in the bill. So there are small victories that we are winning in this war, and we have just continued to literally, keep our foot on the pedal and just continue to press forward and press forward. And just like Douglas was saying, history is going to look back and go, what were they thinking back then? And history will also record there were a lot of people that were trying to end these types of conditions, whether it be trans, whether it be for gays or feminists or race and color and intersectionality, and this whole hierarchy of victimhood mentality and oppression Olympics. Anyways, folks, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your host. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so already, we'd love for you to subscribe to our channel, like, share, and follow us. You all know what to do. Take a look at our other video links above and below. Comment. Let us know what you think. My final thought is always, when you're right, and when you're left, you're wrong. Until next time, folks, take care and stay safe.